Hello, YouTube. My name is Alan, and it's that time, once again, let's talk metal. Tonight, we're going to talk a whole bunch of metal because I've been getting a whole bunch of stuff in the mail lately, and even not in the mail, just in the wild. So, yes, it is collection update time. This will be split into two videos. In this video, I'm going to cover vinyl stuff I've been finding, and I'll save most of the CD stuff for a separate video because otherwise I think this would get a little bit too long. I've been having some pretty good luck with stuff, both online and at some of the local record stores. So we're going to show off some things I've been getting. This will include the stuff that I won in the big eBay auction of the New Wave of British Heavy Metal collection that I talked about in last week's video, and that a lot of folks are still talking about in the collectors' circles. Before I get into stuff I've bought, do need to give a thank you for some VCLT stuff I received from Jurgen. Most of you, of course, will know Jurgen Aumann. He has a fantastic channel where he talks about all kinds of heavy metal stuff. He's over in Germany, has an amazing collection, has seen bands, played with bands, toured with bands, met bands. He knows this stuff inside and out better than just about anybody. And he sent me some VCLT stuff. So thank you very much, Jurgen. Let's show folks what Jurgen sent over. First off, these will be the only CDs I show tonight, but they're part of what Jurgen sent, so I wanted to keep that together. Jurgen sent me the entire 5-disc set of the Riot Anthology that's come out over the past few years on High Roller. These are very cool. They collect a lot of demos, B-sides, live material from the different eras of Riot's history. Jurgen had talked to me about these a while back, and kind of asked my opinion. And I told him I actually hadn't picked any of them up. Over here in the US, these have been relatively expensive. Most places that are distributing them, they're like, $20 to $25 per volume. And, that adds up pretty quick. So I was kind of waiting for someone to maybe put them on sale or find them used and try to get the whole set for a decent price. And Jurgen sent the entire set, which, was absolutely amazing. Very incredible. Thank you very much for those, Jurgen. It's going to take me a long time to get through all that material, but I'm looking forward to it. Jurgen also sent a couple of vinyl items. And if I sound a little funny today, I apologize. I've got a little bit of hay fever, so I am a little stuffed up. But Jurgen sent a copy of his most recent album with Repent. Jurgen, of course, sings for this band. This is their Condemned to Fail album. I've heard this online, thought it was quite good, but hadn't picked up a copy of it yet. So awesome to get that. And last, but certainly not least, Jurgen got me a copy of the second Atlantean Codex album, White Goddess. Now, as you might suspect, I already have a copy of that. As you might suspect, I might have about 3 copies of that. I'm a sick little monkey. But Jurgen's copy might be number 4, but it's pretty cool because Jurgen sent an autographed copy. I am not too proud to admit that when I saw this, I squealed like a little girl with a brand new puppy dog. This is really, really awesome. Jurgen, thank you very much for the VCLT stuff. That is very, very generous of you, and I appreciate it very, very much. All right, now let's see what kind of stuff has Alan been finding. Summertime is not typically a period where I get a ton of vinyl stuff in particular, but lately a few things had turned up on Discogs and other sites. So one thing I found was a 7-inch by a Canadian band called Fatal Mistake. This came out around 85, 86. I'm not sure if the year's ever been pinned down exactly, but includes 2 good tracks, Icebreaker and The Hunter. The band did release some more material later on. I've never heard any of the other stuff. This was their first output back from the mid-80s. Cool single, pretty kind of like a heavy rocking vibe. They sound slightly like AC/DC if AC/DC were a bit more of a metal band rather than being in that weird in-between rock metal territory. It's a cool little single. It's sort of been on my want list radar for years. Copy finally showed up for a reasonable price and was able to get it. Don't get a lot of 7-inch items off my want list these days, so we're quite happy to see this one turn up for a fair price. All right. Also found a LP that had sort of been on the lookout for quite a while. This is the Vault LP, Vault's Euro heavy metal band. I've talked about them from time to time. This one's called No More Escape. You gotta love this cover. Now, the paleontologist in me wants to scream because that is quite possibly the most anatomically incorrect dinosaur I've ever seen drawn by somebody older than 5 years old. On the other hand, it's so bad, it's actually kind of good with the wannabe Conan over here and his lady friend, and this dinosaur that cannot be a dinosaur. No, God did not make dinosaurs look like that. But yeah, just the overall cover, pretty fun in that mid 80s bad cover art kind of way. Vault's a cool band. I have their 7-inch. I just never had been able to get a copy of the original album, and now I do. So was happy to stumble across that while poking around online as well. As I mentioned, I've also had good luck in some of the local record stores. I stopped by one place a few weeks ago. I usually try to get by there maybe once every couple of months. They often have some good stuff, but you got to give them a little bit of time to let the stock turn over, let some new stuff trickle in. Got a bunch of CDs from that store, and I'll cover those next time around in the CD collection update. But I also found one old vintage piece of vinyl that I wanted to pick up, and it's this one. Awesome cover. Always liked this one. It's by a new wave of British heavy metal band called Phoenix Rising. Hence the words Phoenix Rising on the cover and the picture of a phoenix. It's a 4-track, 12-inch EP. There's a 5th track listed, but it's just a couple of, seconds of the band like laughing and burping into the microphone or something. It's not a real song. This one's pretty obscure. Not many folks talk about it ever. The band just did the one thing to my knowledge. The title track alone is worth the price of the album. The other 3 tracks are okay. They kind of operate a little bit more in a sort of a standard rock kind of vibe. They're not one of the heavier, more aggressive or thrashier or speedier bands from the new wave of British heavy metal, but I always liked this record. I had it ages ago, sold it. I'm pretty sure it ended up going to King Fowley. And yeah, they had a pretty clean copy of it sitting there while I'm buying a stack of used CDs. So that can come home with me too. Sure. So very odd to find something like that hanging out in the wild. But I know the guy that owns that record store. He goes to a lot of record shows throughout the Southeast and the Mid-Atlantic. So he may have picked it up at one of the record shows. All right. Then a week or two later, I went to a different local record store. And this one has had some cool vintage stuff in the past, but it's not something they usually have. This is an okay place to go look for new vinyl releases, new CD releases, but their vinyl stock is usually pretty slim. Except this time, when apparently somebody had brought in a big collection of vintage heavy metal vinyl and some pretty nice stuff in the stack. For example, there were some early Metal Blade releases. There were some early Sabotage LPs, including Sirens on the Par label with that original cover with the blue circle on it. So we're talking some pretty heavy stuff. Now, this store, they do look at online prices with Discogs. They usually try to price their stuff maybe like 10%, 15% less than what they see on Discogs, because they do understand you could go online and buy this stuff anytime. So they kind of bring the price down just enough where it's like, yeah, I would definitely rather go buy it from you than order it online. No one's going to come and be like, I can get this record for the same price online. They're like, no, you can't, because we priced it about 15% less. They had some cool stuff, and I did not get out of there without spending a little bit of money. So let's see what I found at this store. First up, they had a few Swedish heavy metal items. For example, they had a Heavy Load LP, but it didn't have the poster with it, so I didn't pick that one up. But I did get this first LP by Axe Witch called The Lord of Flies. Axe Witch, pretty cool band, not one that gets talked about much. They have a good early 80s Swedish sound, heavier though than a lot of their contemporaries from that country. And they have a little bit of almost a doomy aura. The vocalist has a little bit of a baritone voice that, and they Just kind of the production, the guitar tone gives it a little bit of atmosphere, which works pretty well. Several cool tracks on this. All of the stuff in this collection was in really nice shape, had inserts, original picture, inner sleeves, and stuff like that. This was another album I had a long time ago. The Axe Witch stuff went away in some vinyl purge decades ago. And so, hey, I find the Lord of Flies sitting there in the wild staring at me. Yeah, I'm going to buy it if it's in good shape and a fair price. Second one I got, this album by the band Hawaii called The Natives Are Restless. Don't think I've ever heard this one by Hawaii. They made some other material, and I've heard some of that. If the name is ringing a bell to some folks, but you can't place it, well, this was Marty Friedman's pre-Megadeth band. So, yeah, there you go. There's the connection. Haven't played it yet. Looking forward to checking this one out. The Hawaii material I have heard, is always pretty good. This is like the first original old vinyl one that I've got. Number 3 from the local store collection, the Warlord 12-inch Lost and Lonely Days, backed with Aliens. Again, really clean covers on these. Early Metal Blade silver label. This one's around number, was it? NBR 1023. Yep. Warlord, of course, gets talked about a ton. They didn't have a ton of vinyl output back in the day. Had never picked up that 12-inch, so it's sitting there on the shelf. You just don't find this kind of stuff in the wild, at least not in this area very often at all. So, yep, that's coming home too. And then last and probably best, no, not probably, definitely, this was the one that really blew me away out of the collection. They had this. This is from a band called Explorer. The album's entitled Symphonies of Steel. Folks may have heard me talk about it in some previous videos. This is the first pressing, which was just sort of a private independent press. It even has like the folded insert with all the information on it. Very clean copy. This is a very rare record. This you just don't find laying around in the wild. It's good 80s, sort of classy sounding power metal. I think I've talked about them before in the context of other bands that were in the Queensryche mold of playing, U.S. metal in the early and mid 80s, but doing it, with stronger vocals, stronger musicianship, going for that kind of Queensryche edge to it. And yeah, this is the very first press with that purple cover. I've never seen a copy in the wild. I haven't even seen a copy online in quite a while. The last time I did, it was pushing like $200. So that was not going to happen. But I'm buying that copy. I mean, now, to be fair, I did already have the second pressing on Black Dragon. I got a reissue about a year after. I think the purple vinyl came out around the purple cover. It's just on black vinyl. But yeah, the first press was around 84. I think the Black Dragon came out in 85. Different cover, very reminiscent of the art style from Manila Road's Open the Gates, of course. I already had that one. And I also had the third pressing. It got put out and licensed on Metal Blade, also around 85 or 86. Like the Metal Blade cover art. This one, was vinyl in the back there. And so now I have all 3 pressings. And why do I have all 3 pressings? Go ahead, say it. You know you want to. Because I'm a sick little monkey. And this time I really am sick. Got a little phlegm going here today. So yeah, to just walk into the store just to check and see any new CDs out that I'm forgetting about, and to walk out with 4 very nice pieces of early 80s vintage metal vinyl. Yeah, my wallet wasn't too happy about that, but I was quite happy about that. Okay, but wait, there's more. Not from that collection. That was all I bought from that store. But today, I did receive in the mail the stuff that I won from the big New Wave of British Heavy Metal vinyl collection. This went down on eBay at the very end of July. I talked about it some on the Heavy Metallurgy stream with Marty and Ben from the Brain Smasher channel. I made a video about it last week that a lot of folks had fun picking through, sort of talking about analyzing what sold for how much and all of that. So I thought I'd show off the stuff that I won. I won 9 items. I did not win any big ticket items. I'm not slow rolling some big top dollar rarity until the end or anything. I did not even bid on any of the really expensive stuff. It just, yeah, I knew that was not something I was going to be winning. But I did pick up, several of the smaller items that I was happy to add into the collection. Couple of things to mention with the auctions overall, kind of a follow-up to the video. Has been pointed out to me by a couple of collectors that even though the auction said no international bidders, they weren't doing international shipping, a lot of heavy metal collectors from overseas have, in recent years, made arrangements with some collectors and dealers within the US to basically, if they win things, they can have that person receive the item. They'll, the person pays for it, but then they have it shipped to their contact here in the US, and then that person will go ahead and ship it overseas. So a lot of the international collectors do have a way around that no international bidding restriction. I knew a couple of people were doing that. I didn't realize it had become a very, very widespread thing. But so yes, the idea that there was less competition for the items in that collection, that is actually incorrect. Anybody that overseas who was really serious and into that stuff probably had somebody in the US who could act as a proxy for them to help them get the items. All right. Another point that has come up is that a few of the items have gotten relisted by the seller. They had stated very clearly they wanted payment by about, most of the items ended on the weekend, and they wanted payment by like Tuesday or Wednesday, or the stuff was getting relisted. And someone noticed that, yeah, there were some items that did get relisted from that collection, presumably because the original winner did not pay. I glanced through the auctions, and interestingly, it didn't look like any of the really expensive stuff had been relisted. It's actually a lot of the cheaper stuff. I only noticed 1 or 2 items that were kind of pricey that were back on their eBay listings. But if there was something that you bid on and missed out on, you can go back and see if the item got relisted. There are some things that are for sale there. This sick little monkey might be trying one more time for a couple of them. We'll see. My wallet is like kicking me in the shin right now, saying, no, we've had enough. But we'll see. There were 1 or 2 items that I had placed a bid on and lost that have been relisted. So I may try to pick up 1 or 2 more if the price is right. But let's show you what I did win. I'll start with some 7-inch items. First off, got the White Spirit single, Back to the Grind, with Flipside Cheetah. Cheetah is a really, really good song. To be honest, I don't really remember Back to the Grind. I know I have heard it in the past, but I can't place it. White Spirit's best known for having a young Yannick Gers in their ranks long before he would hook up with Iron Maiden. Even with the Iron Maiden connection, this single has never been very expensive. It's never been a very hard one to find either, even though it's a pretty early one in the Neat Records catalog. A lot of stuff in the Neat catalog, it's pretty easy to find, especially relative to other new wave of British heavy metal labels. So yeah, was not an expensive single. I had just never got around to picking it up. That is a very pink picture sleeve. That's like as pink as the Sachet pink picture sleeve by the US band Sachet. Yeah, but cool song, cool single. Didn't have it. Now I do. Second single I got was the Ain't No Fit Place single from Savage. This is the band who did the Loose and Lethal LP that a lot of people really really like. Again, apologies. I am just plugged up enough to mess up my words tonight. The flip side has a song called The China Run. This one is on Ebony. Never was issued in a picture sleeve. I just never picked this one up. These Ebony singles are about $30 a piece now. So, okay, I'll pay $30 for it. Not a problem. This one I had ages ago and traded for something good, but now finally got it back. This is the 7-inch EP by Triarchy. It's got 3 tracks on it: Metal Messiah, Sweet Alcohol, and Hellhound on My Trail, which is indeed a cover of the old blues song by Delta blues legend Robert Johnson. So kind of cool that they would pick that of all things and make it into a pretty decent metal track. Now, personally, I prefer the other Triarchy 7-inch, the single that has Save the Con and Juliet's Tomb. I like those 2 tracks better than these 3. But at the same time, this I thought sold for a pretty fair price, a bit cheaper than I would have expected. And yeah, happy to put it back in the collection after all these years. All right, then the last 7-inch that I got from the set of auctions was the first Venom 7-inch in League with Satan, backed with Live Like an Angel, Die Like a Devil. Very fun pair of tracks. I love the early Venom stuff. A lot of people might complain In League with Satan is barely a song in a way, but it's just fun. This one, I was really happy with the price on it. I've seen this record push $100 several times. I got it a lot less than that. I mean, the auction is public knowledge. If you really just have to know what I paid for it, you can go look it up quite easily. It's no big deal. I was surprised that it didn't get more attention. So I feel like I got a good buy on that one and was happy to do so. All right, so I got 4 singles out of the collection. I also got 5 LPs. So let's check out those next. The first one I got was not New Wave of British Heavy Metal. There were a few non-British things in the collection, and one of them was this, Gravedigger's Heavy Metal Breakdown. Now, this is not the noise pressing. This pressing is on Megaforce Records. I'm pretty sure this was also released in the US on Combat. I could be wrong about that. I feel like I had the Combat press once upon a time and that I've seen it. One of the local stores had this, and I think it was the Combat press, but the condition was no good. It wasn't too long ago, but yeah, the condition was iffy. It had a bad saw mark and other stuff, so I didn't buy that. But this one stayed at an okay price, so picked that up. It's another one I had, got rid of, adding it back into the collection now, but the price was right. Next up, possibly the best band name from any of the auctions. This one made Ben Brain Smasher giggle, his word, not mine. He couldn't stop giggling about the name Split Beaver. And let's face it, we should all be giggling at the name Split Beaver. And the LP, When Hell Won't Have You. Ooh la la. Don't look at her guitar too closely. There is, yeah, things there. But yeah, this is one of the LPs on the heavy metal label. I just, again, never got around to picking this one up. Saw a copy of this one in the wild not long ago, and it was very rough, and they wanted more for it than I got this auction for. So yeah, cool one to pick up. Number 3 in the 12-inch realm is a compilation called One Take, No Dubs. Live in the studio. This one has 4 tracks on it, so 2 on one side, 2 on the other. You've got the bands Alien, Black Rose, Avenger, and Hell and Back. Each get a track. And yeah, the idea was that they each went in, recorded one song live, slap it on the vinyl, put like absolutely no work into the cover, and bada bing, bada boom, you've got something else that Neat Records could sell for some cash back in the day. Decent tracks, decent bands. It was another one that I've had it on digital files for ages. I just never had picked it up. It was never a hard one to find. Again, these are not expensive records. I did not, none of these. I'm trying to think. I don't think I paid more than $50 for anything except the Venom single out of what I'm showing you. So these are just, nice, but, relatively easy to find items that I just didn't have in the collection. Up next, number 4, the compilation, The Friday Rock Show. This is one of the BBC collections. They had, of course, the Friday Rock Show was a huge part of the new wave of British heavy metal movement, part of the mythos where bands got to go on and play a few songs live, usually sets of 4 songs each. They might have recorded more, but I think they usually broadcast in blocks of 4 tracks. This one just has a good lineup. It's got Diamond Head, Sweet Savage, Witchfind, let's check the track list just real quick here. You've also got Spider. You've got Diamond Head with Don't You Ever Leave. Okay, not their best track. You've got Sweet Savage, Eye of the Storm. That's an ass kicker of a track. Anyone ever tells you that new wave of British heavy metal bands couldn't play fast enough, play them Sweet Savage and make them shut up. It works every time. What else have we got here? Last Flight, Demon with One Hell of a Night. Good Demon track. Black Axe with Edge of the World. So they re-recorded that later under the name Wolf, but this is an earlier version. You've got Witchfind with the track Belfast. This is Witchfind in that period where they just had parted ways with their original vocalist and had just brought the new guy on. I think on this one, around this time, he was still working under the name Chalky White. Womp womp. Thankfully, he didn't stick with that very long. By the time he appeared on their third album, he had worked on that Nom de Plume just a tad. Then you also have the band Zero on here. I've heard Zero on some other comps. They're always fine. They never make a big impression. So cool to get this one. I just never had that compilation. Again, it's not a hard comp to find, not an expensive one. And then last, certainly not least, the other BBC compilation called Metal Explosion. This one had a little newspaper ad thing that came with it talking about the release. So yeah, kind of cool. Same BBC label as before. This one, the overall lineup is a tad weaker on, but it does have a couple of really good tracks. You've got Samson. Samson's never my favorite. Praying Mantis with Johnny Cool. You have an unreleased Trespass song called Visionary, which is really, really good. Nobody pays much attention to Trespass, but they did a lot of good songs. A band called Taros with a song called Paper Chaser, which is a pretty good, energetic one. I don't think they ever recorded anything else. You have Ian Gillan is on here. A little bit of a throwback to 70s heavy metal. You've got a band called More. I think that song Soldier is pretty good. I've got a live version of it from the BBC recordings. That's pretty, yeah, the More one's good. Money is on here, and that one I don't remember being very good. The big item, like most people want this one, this has the exclusive Angel Witch track Extermination Day, which of course is just nasty, nasty stuff. Little background on this album. This was one of the very first new wave of British heavy metal items I ever found out in the wild after I had gotten the Metal Blade Lars Ulrich 2 CD compilation set and gotten kind of fascinated with the genre. That 79 Revisited set was the first thing I had. And in trying to then look for stuff by some of those bands, going to record shows, record stores, that was a joke. You weren't going to find any of that stuff in a record store in the early 90s in the southeastern US. But I went to a lot of record shows with my dad, and at one of them, I did get a copy of Metal Explosion. It's probably like $5 or $10 back then. I don't remember. I was so happy to find that record because it actually had a couple of those bands. It's like Trespass and Angel Witch. These bands were on the 79 Revisited. I get to hear more tracks and stuff. So it was very cool. At some point, though, that copy had left my collection. And as such, I am now adding it back into the collection. I always have a soft spot for these old new wave of British heavy metal comps. So nice to add a few of them onto the shelf here instead of just having them on digital format. All right. My wallet and my empty stack of records says we're done. So been a pretty good couple of months for buying vinyl. I'll admit it has not necessarily been cheap, but you don't find this stuff for a particularly good price all that often anymore. When I can go in and support the local record store and they've got the stuff there in good condition, okay, yeah, I'll try to buy some. With those auctions, there was no shipping involved. I didn't have to order it from somewhere in Europe and add 16 pounds worth of shipping to it and wait 2 or 3 weeks. It was free shipping, and I had already won some items. Wasn't hard to add some extra items to the tally. I am kind of hoping I don't find anything for a little while, though, because I've obviously got some catching up to do with my turntable. So let's wrap this video up, and now let's talk metal in the comments down below. How has your summer been for finding some vinyl stuff. I've been noticing a lot of content creators making collection updates. So other folks are definitely finding stuff as well. What have you found though this summer? What are you still hoping to find? What do you always keep an eye out for when you walk into the stores or when you're poking around on Discogs or eBay, hoping one day that special item will turn up? Leave a comment down below and let me know what you're digging around for out there in the wild. All right, that's going to do it for tonight. Until next time, everybody stay safe and keep banging your head.